Valley, blind tasting, spoiling my women friends, sitting at the table with millionaires. The narrative is tax loops, accounts offshore squares. It's not allowed.
Welcome on this Good Friday. What's going on with all my people? Salute to you. You could be anywhere in the world, but you are here with me. Soon as you get in the chat, if everything is good on your end, let me know. If you can see me, press 1, and if you can hear me, press 2. Soon as you run that 12, then I'm going to know from you out there, wherever you at in internet land, I'm going to know that we are top shelf or nothing. What's good with y'all? Happy Friday, everybody. The weekend is here. Don't crash out. Don't spend all your money. Don't make no babies, right? Unless you plan on it, right? But how y'all doing? Any plans? Any exciting things happening? What y'all up to? Right? You doing anything dope? Traveling? Let me know, right? If you're here for the first time, welcome. You definitely are here, in the right place. You're safe here. And if you're part of the family, you already know how we do, man. This doesn't go without you, right? I'm never under the illusion that I got it going on and, I could do this all by myself, because if I don't have nobody to talk to, then what is this for, right? So, welcome to Coin Gang, the #1 home for personal development, ministry for the abstract mind, and a safe space for all of us with that out-the-box philosophy. Make sure you keep your babies close, and whoever you got in your life that's loving on you, man, please be patient with them. Please. You might be a hard person to love. And remember, it doesn't matter people's age. We're still learning. We're all at different levels. If you're on Facebook, look down below. You see that heart thing? That's a supporter badge. You should have that by your name at this point in time. Okay? What are you waiting for? If you're on YouTube, be sure to hit the super chat, and don't be a stranger to the Cash app. And if you need game after this, be sure to book your game session, right? And the link is in the chat right there. Today, we're going to talk about the wrong conversation produces bad outcomes. Having the wrong conversation produces bad outcomes. Sounds elementary, right? Sounds trivial, right? You would think, but not really though, because people are coming together to talk about the wrong things, and it's the wrong time to talk about the wrong things. We're also going to talk about, if you don't earn it, you need to burn it. If you don't earn it, you need to burn it. We're going to talk about studying to show thyself approved. That's important, right? This is one of my libraries. I got books all over the house, and I follow that philosophy to a T. Study to show thyself approved. Not just reading books, but studying ourselves, studying nature, studying each other, studying trends, right? Knowing when to come, knowing when to go, knowing when to be silent, knowing when to speak, right? Study to show thyself approved. And we'll finish it up with negotiations in poverty. My topic for today is ghetto femininity and welfare masculinity. The topic for today is ghetto femininity and welfare masculinity. Now, why would I touch on a topic like that? Because gender is very, very important. But when you take these complex ideals, these complex topics, and you bring it down to the ghetto, it reduces the meaning. When you bring these sacred ideals and you bring them to the ghetto and you bring them to the cookout, it doesn't mean anything. You have people using the words masculinity and femininity, and they are not abstract thinkers. And because they are not abstract thinkers, they are taking these sacred concepts to the ghetto. They're taking it to welfare, y'all. And when you take it there, It's hard to get it back out of there. You understand? So that is our topic today. And if you are a woman with ghetto femininity, I'm going to help you, beloved. If you are a dude and you have welfare masculinity, you came to the right place. I'm your friend, I'm your partner, and I got you. Are y'all ready? First things first. This is an old flyer, right? This is an old flyer. It says valuable gang of young Negroes, right? This is about someone wants to buy some slaves, right? Or this is a proof of sale, I believe. 17 valuable young Negroes, men and women, field hands, sold for no fault with the best guarantee, right? This is American history. I found this very interesting because the people that openly say that this is part of their history, how are they now qualified to talk about the esoteric? How are the individuals that openly claim this is what y'all say your history is? How do you go from this to talking about esoteric philosophy? How do you go from here to talking about science when you haven't corrected this yet? This is what makes your femininity ghetto and your masculinity welfare. Cash for Negroes. I am at all times in the market and wish to purchase likely young Negroes for the South, and will pay liberal prices for all Negroes from 10 to 22 years of age. My house in the West is in the West End, Alexandria, a few steps east of Samuel Cotton's Tavern. Persons having Negroes for sale, will you please give me a call? I want 50 immediately. All communications through the Alexandria post office will meet with the utmost of attention. How does a group of people, this is what y'all say, right? Y'all say y'all come from this kind of history. So how do you come from this kind of history and you're talking about femininity and masculinity? I don't think you're there yet, honestly, beloved. I'm not even being funny. I'm not underestimating you. I'm not saying you're not capable of, but what I am saying is you're not there. See, masculinity and femininity is in the abstract. You're dealing with the realm of metaphysics, honestly. You're dealing with science. You're dealing with above the neck ideals and complex topics. And because of your Negro status, I don't think you're there. The reason why, matter of fact, I know you're not there. I know you're not there because the way you were bred and the way you are socially conditioned is for binary thinking. You can only see zeros and ones. There's no nuance to your mental development. So how can you talk about masculinity and femininity? And when I hear you, you talk about it wrong. And I'm going to prove it to you because what you are talking about is an ancient concept. And it has nothing to do with the way someone dresses or the way someone's beard looks or the tonality of someone's voice. Because you take these concepts to the project and your femininity is ghetto, you think that femininity is soft and masculinity is hard. But you don't deal with metaphysics at all. Because the way that you're conditioned, first of all, is from the neck down. This is why you're good at dancing. You're amazing singers. You got hell of a rhythm, right? But you're neck down, beloved. And the people that rule the world, see, they can't really dance like that. Their rhythm is kind of off. I'll give it to you. It looks funny, right? But they rule the world from a different place than you do. They rule the world from the neck up, while you live in the world from the neck down. Hell, from the waist down. You mate from the waist down. Your decision making is from the waist down. You govern your life from an animalistic perspective, because you weren't allowed to deal in the abstract. You weren't allowed to tap into intellect. So my question is, how is that same group of people that come from this, where they bought and sold you, right? How are the people that come from being bought and sold, how do you now have a monopoly on the submission conversation? How are you now talking about masculinity and femininity, but you don't deal with the abstract though, fam? Masculinity and femininity is not about sex. It's not about a woman's clothes. Huh? It's not about the way a woman does her hair. It's deeper than that. But by the time I'm done, hopefully you can spend some time with me today. I'm going to put it in your hand so you can study to show thyself approved. So now you are aware of the different polarities. But back to binary thinking. It's either left or right. When you come from this kind of background where intellect was broken out of you, you can only see the world through zeros and ones, hot and cold, but never in the gray area. And when you're talking about the abstract, you have to go into the gray. This is how your mind is conditioned to think. Day, night, white, black, north, south, developed, underdeveloped. That's it. And if your mind is trained to think in this manner, you are not qualified nor mature enough to talk about masculinity and femininity. And any teacher that is talking to you about it and they do not teach you in the abstract, they are also out of pocket. False prophets, honestly. Some of you men, if a woman raises her voice, you'll say that's masculine. What? If she's a little too aggressive, you'll say that's masculine behavior. What? What? How is a woman raising her voice masculine? When masculine and femininity is, you have to deal with it from the esoteric. Y'all are taking complex things and perverting them, bringing them to the projects, bringing them to the ghetto, going back to the plantation to decipher supernatural shit. Masculinity and femininity is bigger than you and I, beloved. Masculinity and femininity was not created by humans. It is not a hormone. No gland in your body produces this. The ancient ones came up with this stuff based on observing nature. Y'all have taken it, put it on welfare, right? Took it to the cookout, took it to the block party, brought it to gang initiations, brought it to the smoke session. Sir, ma'am, y'all hella out of line, especially since y'all come from this. The group of people that you identify with, see, I know who listens to me, so you know exactly who I'm talking about. You got to understand, you are known for jumping high. You are known for doing the bat watusi, the wop, the stanky leg, the heel toe. You're known for games and play. You understand? You're known for turning your pants backwards and 3 cuts in your eyebrows, trying to wild out. The game is ours. We'll never foul out. Y'all known for that. Y'all known for the straight up shit is real and any day could be your last in the jungle. Get murdered on the humble, guns will blast, niggas tumble. Y'all known for that. Rap, dance, sports. But when it comes to thinking, no. It's how you're conditioned. It's binary. It's either this or that. And then when you can't figure out where to put it, this or that, you go straight to violence. You go straight to name calling. You go straight to insults, roast, and mama jokes, because binary thinking cannot solve complex issues. Masculinity and femininity is very complex. I know a little something, but even I don't fully grasp it. I'm still in student mode because this thing is deep. We are dealing with beyond the physical. What is abstract thinking? Abstract thinking is a stage of cognitive development that produces a new kind of thought that is abstract, formal, and logical. It involves some complex mental processes. Abstract thinkers can conceptualize, generalize, understand that each concept can have multiple meanings. All right. Now we're going to break down to a grain of sand what masculinity and femininity is. But first, I have to chisel your brain. I got to chisel your brain first before we go into those complex areas, right? To that higher level philosophy. We have to go to school, right? Make sure you like and share this video. I will keep the curses to a minimum because I actually want you to pull up with your sons and your daughters. And anything I'm wrong about, I would love to be wrong about, as long as it starts a different conversation with you and your household. If this can start a different dialogue in your house, man, I did my job. So anywhere you feel I'm wrong, man, discuss it amongst the people in your home and see what they think, right? Because at the end of the day, it's all about us going to another level so we can land in that abstract space. And it's important for us to do that as we keep traveling into the unknown, the future, the metaverse tomorrow. What is abstract thinking? It is a stage of cognitive development that produces a new kind of thinking that is abstract, formal, and logical. It involves some complex mental processes. Abstract thinkers can conceptualize, generalize, and understand that each concept can have multiple meanings. Abstract thinking. A. This type of thinking depends on finding the significant relation or difference between objects or concepts after understanding their meaning. Concrete thinking. Concreteness means that the individual cannot reach proper conclusions through lack of understanding of meanings, leading to false concept formation. Back to binary thinking. Trust, I'm not dissing you. I understand where we come from. I understand the conditions that made the environments that we come from. I get all that. But we're in the information age, right? So I have a soft spot in my heart for you because I know your mind. I know that your brain can only go so deep. And it's going to stop at right and wrong, God, devil. This is why many of you stop at Christianity. No disrespect to the faith, but it's an easy concept to deal with because it's binary. Christ, devil. Hell, heaven. Right? It's easy. Right? Now, we'll get into that in a second because it's actually deeper and you don't really know the mystic side of Christianity until you get into some of the lodges. The mystic sides of Christianity are Coptic and Gnostic. The mystic side of Islam is Sufism, I believe. And the mystic side of Judaism is the Kabbalah. I do that too. I just look like this. Right? But this is why many of you stop there. You know what? Jesus died for my sins. Boom. I ain't got to do nothing. That's binary thinking. I'm not attacking your faith at all. But I'm talking about your mind because there's a deeper element to your faith too. There's another side to that. There's a more scientific side, a more abstract side to your faith that deals with magic and the power of language and casting spells. We'll get into that. Right? Back to binary thinking. For us to move forward and for us to go into understanding masculinity and femininity, we first have to take off our clothes, not literally, unless you want to, right? And put on a new attire, right? We have to be born again into a different philosophy so our mind is able to grasp hard truths. So you want to come out of the concrete and into the abstract, right? Cognitive development that produces a new kind of thinking. Let me ask you something. For many of you that are loyal to YouTube platforms and talking heads, when you're talking and you're debating, I got a question for you, beloved. In your conversations, is it producing a new type of thinking? Or are you passing around talking points, trying to put each other down, positioning yourself in poverty? That's all it is. You want to quote stats and statistics and data, but I got a question. Can you deal with metaphysics though? You don't know how high the sky is, the square mileage of Earth, or what pi is. You know what pi is, beloved? Do you know the square mileage of the planet? Do you know how high the sky is? Or you know who's getting married and who ain't. You know who's obese and who ain't. See, that's that plantation thinking, right? That's what it is. Plantation thinking. Remember, this gentleman was trying to buy 50 Negroes. Your bodies have left the physical plantation, but your mind and your mentality is still stuck there. You are way, way behind, but I'm going to help you, right? This that 151, one sipper make a nigga flip. It's that moonshine your granddaddy used to drink. Take a shot of this, you like, that good dope. That fish scale. You rub it on your gums and your mouth, just as, man. Yeah. Don't worry. When you take your first hit, it feels like that. I get it. This is what that is. It's uncomfortable at first. Take it slow, fam. Ease your way into the high. You know what I'm saying? Don't try to control it. Let your body go, and let the dope do what it do. Right? Because I want to take you somewhere else. I want to take you out of being a minority. And I want to bring you out of minority thinking. See, there's so much power in language. Right? When you say that you are a minority, the root word in there is minor. You raise your hand and you say, I'm a minority. And when you admit to something like this, there's a thinking that goes into that. So when a minority has meaningful things on their plate, ideals, topics that are very deep and require some meditation, right? The minority, the only thing it can do is take the concept to the projects. The minority can only take the ideal and put it in a welfare state. Why? Because a minority is a state or condition of being smaller. What is state? Mind state. Condition is how you live. The state is how you're thinking. Right? Less, lesser, smaller, junior. That's why the place that I'm about to take many of you, you have never been. Not because you didn't want to. See, I'm going to give you more credit than that. I knew when you came into this world, you had a nice imagination. You wanted to be things and think different thoughts. You didn't come into this thing desiring to be a minority. Nah, the culture put this garbage on you. And none of us want to be outcast, so we're going to go with the flow. So I'm going to talk to that inner child in you that wanted to be more. Somewhere underneath all the beliefs, all the dogma, all the trauma, depression, and stress, somewhere that little boy and that little girl is still innocent, wondering, thinking about the nature of the universe, looking up at the sky and asking why. Somewhere that little person is under there. And that's who I want to get to, because you have to empty your cup, right? Minority, state of being under legal age. the people that classify themselves as minority are technically not adults. So you'll be treated as such because the minority means less, lesser, smaller, state of condition of being smaller, junior, state of being under legal age. Notice you keep seeing state. Right? The state is the mind. The minority cannot use words like feminine and masculine because the minority is under the legal age of consent. You can't speak for yourself. You're not an adult. You need other people to show up for you. And that's why you have your 1%. That's why you have your politicians. That's why you have your talking heads, because you can't do it for yourself. That's what they believe. But I believe a different story. I believe if put in your lap the right way by the right person, you might not only will receive it, but you will take it and run, and you will live different. I have faith in you, beloved. So we have to come out of minority thinking. Why? Because to understand masculinity and femininity, we got to completely change our minds. So we have to go to the liberal arts. See, I can't just go into talking about masculinity and femininity. I just can't go to that space. We have to chisel away at the ADD. We have to chisel away at the need for sensationalism. We have to chisel away at people's inability to stay focused. So I can't go to talking about masculinity and femininity before we go into ways of thinking. So we have to start with the matrix that governs all learning. The 7 liberal arts. The trivium, the quadrivium. Right? Let's start with the trivium. These 3 arts of language pertaining to the mind. And it's interesting because for those that say the system is rigged and we're being controlled, how, beloved? How are you being controlled? How? You're being controlled through the 7 liberal arts. But let's get into it. These 3 arts of language pertaining to the mind, we're talking about the trivium. Logic, the art of thinking. The art of thinking. Notice, it says art. Have any of you ever looked at thinking as an art form? You're told what to think, not how to think. This is why many of you say, well, I just feel like, but I get it. The way you're conditioned is to think below the waist. So that puts you in your feelings. But thinking is an art. And for those of you to say, men are logical. No, they're not. No, they are not. Men are not logical by nature. Logic is a branch of philosophy. Logic is an art. To be a logical thinker takes training. But once again, these are talking points based on welfare masculinity. Coming from a group of people that never was breastfed and your mama was on food stamps. I'm not dissing you because my mama was on too. I got sent to the store to buy cups of noodles with the food stamps. So I'm not banging on you. But I'm just saying, though, when you are a Similac baby and a welfare baby, you can only view the world through that lens. Unless you take off them clothes. Jay-Z said, change clothes. You got to change clothes, right? You got to put on the right attire. So I'm not banging on you because I'm you, right? But I just want to max out on my abilities. I'm not comfortable being where I was. I want more. I want more knowledge, right? The bread is going to come, right? You want bitches, fam? Get knowledge, right? You want better looking women? Gain wisdom. Knowledge will get you some chicks. Wisdom will get you the quality, though. Wisdom will get you the quality neighborhood. Wisdom will get you quality friends, quality fellowship. Knowledge is just get you the shit, right? So let's go into grammar. Grammar, art of inventing and combining symbols. Rhetoric, art of communication. So that is the trivium, right? This is the 7 liberal arts. Every single thing in our society is based on this. These are the building blocks. Okay? And when you and the other 4 are called the quadrivium. All right? So the 4 arts of quantity pertaining to matter. Discrete quantity or number, arithmetic, theory of number, music, application of theory of number, geometry, theory of space, astronomy, application of the theory of space. The reason why I'm doing this, you'll understand later. It is to basically baptize you into fully being able to process femininity and masculinity. You understand? But we have to go here first. Let's skip something. Oh, okay. No, we're good. All right. Y'all with me? All right. All right. The intransitive character of the liberal arts. Now follow me. The carpenter blames the wood. This is just an example. The rose blooms. All right. The action of a transitive verb like planes begins in the agent but goes across and ends in the object, the wood. The action of the intransitive verb like blooms begins in the agent and ends in the agent. The rose which is perfected by blooming. In layman's terms. Okay. The way that you're usually taught to think has everything to do with everything else, right? The carpenter planes the wood. Your focus has been on the wood, Monsanto, the government, single mothers, dusties, toxic masculinity, blah, blah, blah. But knowledge itself begins and ends with you. The rose blooms. That's all about you. You have not been taught to be all about you, only in a hedonistic way, but not in terms of personal development. But if I ask you about other people's business, the carpenter plans the wood, you can give it to me all day. You know who's dating who's sleeping with who. You counting the government's money. You know what's going on in Africa. You know what's going on in China. But if I ask you what's going on in your body, in your mind, if I ask you how many teeth you got, how many bones you got, what's your blood type, how many ribs in the human body, you can't tell me. The rose blooms. I want to put you into the state of the intransitive verb. The rose blooms. You are the rose. Okay? So to understand masculinity and femininity, you have to know that this begins and ends with you. The only reason I'm telling you this is for you. The rose blooms. Not so you can go debate. The carpenter planes the wood. Right. You understand the transitive verb begins in the agent, but goes across and ends in the object. Do not take this information and try to land it in another object. No, this is for you. The rose blooms. This is to help you bloom. This is personal development, right? This doesn't have nothing to do with Monsanto making fake food. You can't stop that. The Federal Reserve, you can't stop that. All the people telling you to wake up, what they are telling you to wake up to does not land you back to yourself, and it does not make the rose bloom. They got you focused on transitive verbs. Objects going across to land in the wood. What I'm talking about is intransitive verbs. The agent, transitive verb begins in the agent and ends in the agent. That's knowledge itself. The knowledge begins in you and ends in you. They want you to focus on the transitive verb. Oh, you got to wake up, family. You got to wake up. Wake up to what? Wake up to what exactly? Oh, they, right? The they is the carpenter that planes the wood. That's the they. Who is that? They, you know, they said this, and you know they doing this, and man, who is the they? You can never stop the they. You have no control over whoever the they is. And the they will not trigger the rose to bloom. Right? You're not responsible for they, but you are responsible for you. The rose blooms. Intransitive verb. Right? It begins with you and ends with you. So as we go deeper and we look in masculinity and femininity, this is not for you to check nobody. This is not for women to be like, oh man, a masculine man does this. A feminine woman does this, because y'all are wrong in the first place. And it's first of all, y'all out of line. And then you trying to check somebody. But y'all wrong. This begins and ends with you. Copy? The rose blooms. You are the rose. Logic is concerned with the thing as it is known. Grammar is concerned with the things as it is symbolized. Rhetoric is concerned with the things as it is communicated. Okay? Relationship between metaphysics and language arts. Okay. The discovery of the planet Pluto in 1930 illustrates the relationship between metaphysics and language arts. The planet Pluto had been a real entity, traveling in its orbit about our sun for centuries. Its discovery in 1930 did not create it. By being discovered, however, it became, in 1930, for the first time, a logical entity. So when we discovered it, it brought it into our logic, but it already existed. Okay? When it was named Pluto, it became a grammatical entity. Now it has a name. The discovery brought it into our logic. Now it has a name. When by its name, knowledge when by its name knowledge of it was communicated to others through spoken word and also through the written word, the planet Pluto became a rhetorical entity. That's how masculinity and femininity works. The same way that I just read about Pluto. We discovered it through observation. It already existed. We brought it into our logic. Then we dressed it up. Okay? Now it becomes a grammatical entity. All right? And then we name it. And we're able to communicate it with others. And we call it masculinity, femininity. But it's observed through looking at nature and different polarities, this or that, right? Through measurement, through math, through science. It was never about clothes. It was never about the way a man walks or the way a woman talks. That is slave doctrine. This or that. What I'm talking about is has a spectrum to it. It's not based on this or that. It's based on so much more. But you can never get there if you're dealing with binary. And many of you are only talking about femininity and masculinity. I'm going to be honest with y'all, because you have self-esteem issues. So you need masculinity to mean something else for yourself. But now you are stepping out of the realm of science, out of the realm of metaphysics. You are stepping out of the realm of a student, and you are taking your ass to the projects. You are putting this on welfare because you as a man, you as a woman need to feel important. What the hell is resting your femininity mean? What is a masculine frame? What are y'all talking about? Y'all claim that y'all descendants of slaves. Y'all are descendants of out-of-pocket men and women. That's who y'all are descendants of slaves. That's who y'all descendants of. Men that was out of pocket and women that is out of pocket. You women fix your glossy lips and you talking about you want to rest in your femininity. And you men that are squares or ex-criminals talking about masculinity? And you don't even read? And none of the things that you're discussing has came to you when you was in an altered state from fasting? Mm-mm-mm. All right. Their materials and functions. All right. Phonics. All right. Phonics prescribes how to combine sounds so as to form spoken words correctly. Spelling prescribes how to combine letters as to form written words correctly. Grammar prescribes how to combine words as to form sentences correctly. Rhetoric prescribes how to combine sentences into paragraphs and paragraphs into whole compositions having unity, coherence, and desired emphasis, as well as clarity, force, and beauty. Logic prescribes how to combine concepts into judgments and judgments into syllogisms and chains of reasoning so as to achieve truth. We are dealing with the trivium and we are dealing with the quadrivium. We're dealing with the seven liberal arts, right? And I don't expect you to get every single thing if this is new to you. What I'm doing is I need to tune your listening so I can actually really dig deep into femininity, masculinity, submission, and the like. So we had to go here first. All right. Their norms. Correctness is the norm of phonics, spelling, and grammar. Effectiveness is the norm of rhetoric. Truth is the norm of logic. Correctness is the thinking. Correctness in thinking is the normal means to reach truth, which is the conformity of thought with things as they are, not with how you feel. Let me go there again. Truth is the norm of logic. Correctness in thinking is the normal means to reach the truth. Pause. We can never reach what is true if we do not have correctness in thinking. Everything is off, right? The truth will sound like a lie to you if you don't know how to think. And I'm about to go into some things that's going to sound like a lie to some of you. And I get it. I want you to think I'm wrong. I want you to think I'm crazy. So it sparks a dialogue with you and yours behind the scenes. And as long as it gets y'all to talk and come together in fellowship based on knowledge, then mission accomplished. All right. Y'all good? Y'all with me? If you're good in the chat, press 1, let me know. If you're good in the chat, press 1, let me know. So I wanted to take you somewhere. It was a lot of words, but I wanted to do something to stimulate the brain as we move forward. Because modern people talk strange, right? Modern people are talking about tradition. And the way that modern people, their guide and compass for tradition is the Bible, especially when it comes to talking about femininity and masculinity. But first, before we get into that, I need to bring this up. This is something that I've shown, right? I just need to go into this real quick because one thing I wanted to touch on today was when you have the wrong conversation, you get bad results or bad outcomes. The internet has allowed many of us to come together, and we would have never touched shoulders with each other before, right? The internet has put everybody in chat rooms, and it has allowed us to chop it up with each other. And y'all are having the wrong conversations, especially the people that say they come from a slave history. Let me show y'all why y'all having the wrong conversation. Can you see my numbers? Can you see these numbers? All right. Just real quick. I want to breeze through this real quick to show y'all that you're having the wrong conversations. Y'all are talking about, first off, establish that you're wrong when you talk about masculinity and femininity. But let's hop back in regular 3D. How is masculinity and femininity in the way y'all talking going to help y'all make bread? I know the analytics of who follows me, right? So it's ADOS and melanated people. Okay. So men and women that wouldn't normally talk to each other have been brought together by the internet. And the only conversation that y'all are having with each other is about femininity and masculinity. But as a group, you're losing the money war. Black men The only thing you need to be talking with Black women about is how do they make money and can you get some with them? Black woman, the only thing you need to be talking to Black men about is how he makes money and can you get some with him? What y'all are doing is negotiations in poverty for optics, for pictures. But that conversation is not going to lead to any product. The conversation that y'all having is not going to lead to nothing that you could put into the market, put in a bag, and sell. It does not help with e-commerce. It does not help with import, export. It does not help with anything. You are wasting your time. But I understand it's ghetto femininity and welfare masculinity. Y'all come together and clash. First of all, y'all don't get along. That's what I learned. Y'all don't get along. Y'all actually don't have anything to talk about. And the only thing you do agree with is that you don't like Donald Trump. And that's a weird thing to come together. That's the only thing y'all are all on code for is you don't like Donald Trump. That's it. That's very dangerous. It's very scary. And honestly, it's very reckless because y'all are mothers and fathers. Now, let me scroll down a bit and let me tell you why y'all hella out of pocket. Asian Americans, their population is only 18 million. This is as of 2018. But their median household income is 87,000. White Americans, geez, look at their numbers. 236 million 173,020. Their median income is 65,000. African Americans, 41,617,764. That's your population. Your median household income is 43,000. Here it says some other race. So you are one of the brokest groups in the country. And this is where your forefathers grinded and your foremothers grinded. What else do y'all have to talk about when you come together? Let me scroll down a bit. Look at all the groups here. They're not even from here. These people are not even from here. Indian Americans, look at their median household income. And based on population, they are a quote unquote minority. 135,000 as a median income. You see everybody else? 67, 72, 84. Taiwanese Americans. Look at their population and look at their median household income. 102,000. But the Black man and woman is coming together to discuss femininity and masculinity. How? Someone in the chat. I can drop the link. I just want to know, how's that going to help y'all make money? So you think once you get the masculinity and femininity issue under control, then y'all going to start making bread? It's going to be too late. So once y'all establish this hierarchy with what y'all think is femininity and masculinity, first off, it's perverted. But once y'all establish a hierarchy, then you're going to start making paper. So y'all got to get that in order first before y'all start to make money. Fellas, if you're hopping in a black woman's inbox, lead with how you're making money. Ladies, if you're hopping in a black man's inbox, lead with how you're making money. It's so much bigger than dating. Like the stop point, let me show you again. Binary thinking. The highest form of creativity for the African American is getting married and having children. It does not go past that. That is a very, very, very scary thing. For the Black American, the highest creativity is getting married and having children. It stops there. That is it. Binary, this or that. Where if a woman in Black America doesn't have a man or is married, somehow her value goes down. If she's not married, her overall value goes down, even though she's an asset to the marketplace. Somehow, with this group, her value goes down. Right? And in this culture, if a man has a younger woman, his value goes up, even though he may not be an asset to the market. Y'all haven't left the realms of sex. Binary. Remember, abstract thinking is a stage of cognitive development that produces a new kind of thinking that is abstract, formal, and logical. It involves some complex mental processes. An abstract thinker can conceptualize, generalize, and understand that each concept can have multiple meanings. Y'all are stuck here. Married, unmarried. Children, no children. Single, that's it. And then you make an assessment on the person's value based on that. But look at the numbers, though. I know y'all like numbers, right? Y'all like statistics and stats, right? Huh? The internet has allowed many of you to come together that wouldn't normally be together. And this is your conversation, femininity and masculinity. And you're talking about it in a welfare and ghetto way. But I just want to scroll down to show you that all of these groups of people who are not talking that conversation, who probably haven't read more books than you, who don't have swag or none of that, they are balling better than you in the country of your forefathers, and foremothers. Now that alone is super disrespectful. But let me scroll down. It doesn't stop. Remember, African Americans are less than 45,000. Look, I just scrolled. Look at Japanese Americans. Look at Korean Americans. Look at everybody that comes to this country. What do you think they're coming here for? What do y'all think? Because I'm asking because many of y'all say money ain't everything. That's what y'all say. Money ain't everything. It ain't all about the money. That's what y'all say. Money ain't everything. It ain't all about the money. Apparently it is, because you have people that will risk their entire life to come to America, not so they can play around, not so they can watch TV, right? The freedoms that we like to put, countries are jealous of us because our freedoms. Nah. Freedom to what? Right? No, countries like our market. The fact that you can come up with an ideal, put it out, and bubble off it, and pretty much, for the most part, the government will stay out your way. For the most part, right? They're not, their hands all in, you know, pay your taxes, blah, blah, blah. Simple shit, right? But Japanese Americans, Korean Americans, Laotian Americans, Pakistani Americans, Thai Americans, Vietnamese Americans, Burmese Americans. No, Burmese Americans, they're broke as black people. They look like they make they make the money we make. You know what I'm saying? Right? I'm gonna get off this in a second, go back to what I was talking about, but I just wanted to show this. Look, Polynesian, 61,000, Native American, 60,000, Samoan. Look at this. Look at this. Man. So I just wanted to show this real quick because it's actually very, very mind-blowing that the internet has allowed us to come together to share information, and the information that we're sharing or think we're sharing is about masculinity and femininity, who should get the big piece of chicken, a woman raising her voice, that's masculine, a man wearing a pink shirt, that's feminine. That is a bad type of thinking, right? That is a terrible type of thinking. And we just ran through the trivium and the quadrivium. And the reason for that is to take us out of that kind of thinking, right? Because we want to come out of this. No. Minority. We want to come out of minority thinking, right? State or condition of being smaller. That's a problem, right? State of being under legal age. That's what a minority is. So you're technically not an adult, right? And we just was talking about the trivium and the quadrivium and how this is all about language. So when I, as a 37-year-old, raise my hand and say, I'm a minority or black, right? I am putting myself in a state of being lesser. I'm putting myself in a state of being a junior. I'm putting myself in a state of being smaller, right? State of being under legal age. All right. So we want to go to another level, because for us to understand masculinity and femininity, we first has to come out of minority thinking, right? And the traditions that we're talking about come from where? Because I hear a lot of guys in the space, you know what, the Adam and they go back to the Bible. So that's where we're going to go, right? So, but first we had to go into abstract thinking, because I'm going to go to an abstract place, right? Because we want to see, right? Does femininity and masculinity, did it come from the book? And is the woman naturally submissive? Where does this submission come from? What do y'all believe? Is the woman naturally submissive by nature? And by nature, I mean that's how she was born. Let me see in the chat, right? By nature, just if you believe that the woman by nature is naturally submissive, by nature, press 1 in the chat. And the reason why I'm starting here, because in the West, this is where people start. And I see in the ghetto and in welfare, this is where many of the males are starting, right? They're going back to this place. And I'm like, damn, well, you know, I know how to read, right? But we want to see, right? We want to see if this is the first woman that ever lived, she should have all the characteristics that we're talking about, right? If this is the first woman that ever existed, she technically should be the example of femininity and masculinity. Femininity, I'm sorry. And the male, this is where we should come to see masculinity, right? This is where we should run it. This is where we should learn it, right? This is where we should learn this behavior, right? So if I'm like, you know what, wife, you ain't submissive, you need to be like Eve, we should be able to go see the behavior and see, was the first woman submissive? And if you say, you're not being a masculine man, Ken, you need to be like Adam because he is the first man, right? This is what many believe. All right. So this is Genesis chapter 3. It starts off. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. And he said unto the woman, yea, hath God said, ye shall not eat of every tree. I'm sorry, it'll be hard for me to go forward. The serpent. Do humans talk to snakes? What? Now, many people will tell you, oh, that's the devil. I understand. Because of welfare and ghetto nature and binary thinking and being a minority, you don't know how to think about things. Well, let me help you. Let me help you understand that there was an entire world going on, right? Before this stuff was written. Hundreds of thousands of years of civilization and history, right? And folklores have entered into the book. You necessarily don't know what you're reading. We can't go further until we establish, do people talk to snakes? Does the serpent mean anything? Sure it does. Since ancient times, snakes have been viewed with fascination and revulsion as a symbolic and complex creature. What has the serpent been associated with? Spiritual growth, fertility, healing, duality and balance, protection, rebirth, regeneration, deceit, and wisdom. See, we're taught because of binary, this or that, oh, that's the devil. Unfortunately, you can't blame the people that are teaching. They don't have a wide range of knowledge. And when you deal with belief, that's very scary. I feel and I believe is the same thing. Belief is emotions. It does not take any research. It does not take any investigation. It does not take any study, right? So when people say, I feel, that's emotional. When people say, I believe, that's also emotions. This is why people that are stuck in beliefs, is very hard to have a conversation because it goes to another place. It gets real heated, right? Because beliefs are emotional. Most people that believe shit don't read, right? Most people that believe things will not go on the Indiana Jones adventure, right? Well, most people that believe things will not go in a direction that challenges that belief, right? That's where cognitive dissonance comes from. And even if confronting with more facts, and even with if more information is made available, it doesn't matter. It's going to go right back to the belief. Well, I believe. No, which I understand though. Like I get it. People need to sleep better at night. And when you when you go into too much knowledge, you gain a lot of sorrow because you begin to see see things people don't see. You begin to see things that other people don't know about, and that can get lonely, right? You don't want to be the person out the group that's, you know, you're the only one that understands signs and symbols. You don't want that. You don't want that. You don't want to be the person that sees things everybody can't see, because you try to explain it, you're going to be the crazy one. So when you increase knowledge, you do increase sorrow. So I understand why people stay in belief, because it's safe there. But over here at Coin Gang, we deal with abstract philosophy, abstract ministry. We go beyond belief, right? We want to find out the things that we thought was wrong so we could be better, right? Okay, so we see the serpent is actually more than what we are being taught. The serpent symbol, the serpent shows the way to hidden things, says Carl Jung. Snakes and serpents can be found used in nearly every ancient culture as symbols for spirit, the divine, enlightenment, and the power of transformation. We still see them in our modern medical symbol, deprived from the rod of the, don't give me the, I've been butchering this word all day. Just say A, right? From the rod of A, all right? And Hermes, Caduceus. Why snakes? What are they talking about? Does that symbol look familiar to y'all? Look right up the top. Who is wearing that symbol? Where have you guys seen that symbol from? Right? Anyone in the chat know where this symbol comes from? Where's that symbol derived from? Anybody in the chat? Come on, real quick so we can move. Where have we seen this at? Right? And do you know this symbol is also the same symbol that is being discussed in the book of Genesis? Do you know that? Right? Do you see how the snake is coiling up like that? What is the snake coiling like that? What is it going up? Now it represents the staff of Hermes, but it's going up like that. What is that? I got some scholars out here. Kundalini, right? It's going up the spinal cord. This is the serpent from the book of Genesis. So before I even continued, we had an issue right there because we don't deal with fables. So we had to get to the bottom of that. Hold on, man. Because if I came online and I was having a full-fledged conversation with a snake, you would be like, this nigga's crazy, right? So we had to identify, right? We had to go deeper. Remember, I said that the book had a mystic side to it, right? So in Christianity, the mystic side is Coptic or Gnostic. In Judaism, the mystic side is the Kabbalah, right? In Islam, the mystic side of it is Sufism, right? So most people deal with the surface version of that, the belief aspect of it. And to get to the mystic side of it, you need to be initiated. And when you get initiated, then you begin to break down what these stories actually mean and get to apply them into your life, right? So that is the staff of Hermes or the Caduceus right there. In the book Secret Teachings of All Ages, Manly P. Hall says about the serpent, serpent worship in some form has been permeated nearly all parts of the earth. The serpent mounds of the American Indians, Python, the great snake of the Greeks, the sacred serpents of the Druids, the Madgard snake of the Scandinavia, the Nagas of Burma, Siam and Cambodia, the brazen serpent of the Jews, the mystic serpent of Orpheus, the snakes of the oracle of Delphi, twinning themselves around the tripod upon which the pantheon priest sat, The tripod itself being in the form of twisted serpents, the sacred serpents preserved in the Egyptian temples, the aureus called upon the foreheads of the pharaohs and priests. All these bear witness to the universal veneration in which the snake was held. Now, if you was in Sunday school like me, you was taught to fear that. Oh man, yo, you got to fear the snake. You got to fear the serpent. That's what we was taught, because it wasn't dealing with the mystic side of it. It was dealing with the belief side of it, which most people should stay, right? But we over here deal with abstract philosophy, so we got to go, right? And like Bobby Hemmett said, we're going to go wherever knowledge takes us, right? So this is the serpent in the garden. It's symbolic. This is the serpent. All right. Boom. You see in the top left corner, this symbol is old, right? In Asia, they love the dragon. Y'all never thought about that? Why do they love the dragon so much? It's all about the dragon. It's all about the dragon. The dragon is not scary, right? It's all about the dragon. Okay? So if you're reading, maybe you can, if you're able to explain this to a child, it would definitely help their development, because many children have questions. And the reason why we will get into an argument about our beliefs is because granny and grandpa, mom and dad, they didn't know how to teach our young minds. They didn't understand how to break down complex things, because for one, a lot of this information wasn't available for them to know. You know, they just had to go to work every day, right? So we live a different life, and we're able to take advantage of our freedom to learn and freedom to read. You know what I'm saying? So if you're able to explain this to a child, explain the stories, explain the symbolism, it will do so much help on their young minds. Right? Okay. So I had to break down the serpent. And then in 1 second, I'll show you how the serpent became bad, or how it became to mean evil. Right? But we can't talk about masculinity and femininity if we believe Santa Claus come through chimneys, people walk on water, Red Seas go across, and people get on boats and put animals in the boat. And come on now, right? Y'all with me? All right. Now, and the woman said unto the serpent, remember what the serpent is, right? We may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree in which is in the midst of the garden, God hath said, ye shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die. You know what's interesting? If you read like Bibles that was interpreted from Latin, right? And the it said that Shakespeare had a lot to do with it, right? You ever ask yourself, did people really talk like this? Was the woman talking to the serpent? We may eat of the fruit of the tree of the garden, but the fruit of it which is in the midst of the garden, God hath said, ye shall not eat of it. Doesn't this sound like Hamlet? Doesn't this sound like a play? Right? But when you go into when the Church of England was dominating, it had bishops, and it had that's another story. But if you're wondering why things sound like that, is because when it was interpreted in England, it had their poets interpret it, or not necessarily interpreted, but you see their contribution. Who talks like that? Doth and ye and hath. No one talks like that, right? No one talks like this. All right. So it says, and the serpent said unto the woman, you shall not, for God doth know in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be open, and you shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and the tree to be desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit thereof and did eat, and gave also unto her husband, and he did eat. And the eyes of them were both open, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons. And they heard of the voice of the Lord God walking in the garden in the cool of the day. And Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of the Lord. Notice that she's a wife and he's a husband. We'll get into that in a second, right? And the Lord said unto Adam, where art thou? That's what I'm saying. That's poetry. When you look at classic European poetry, that's how you talk. Where art thou? That's how Romeo talked. Juliet, Juliet, where art thou? Like, come on, man. No one talks like that. A supreme being is not going to speak in that manner. In fact, it's not even going to speak at all. Right? The same way when you look at many indigenous tribes, they speak with the way that they speak mimics nature. So the supreme being is not going to say, where art thou? All we have to do is look at nature for all of our examples, right? If you don't believe me, go watch National Geographic. Look at tribes that were first contacted by missionaries, right? That's how they talked. They made sounds. The sounds that they make mimic the sounds that they heard in nature. And which would make a lot of sense, because when you live in an environment that has aggressive predators, you can't be that loud. So we have to be able to get our point across very quickly and very quietly, right? This is how you're going to survive, especially when the things you live around will eat you. So you have to figure out a way to communicate, and it's through sounds or sign language, right? Those in the military could definitely back that up. They use a lot of sign language, and they have to be crisp and sharp, right? So no thing is going to say, where art thou? That's Hamlet. And he said, I heard thy voice in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked and I hid myself. And he said, who told thee thou wast naked? Hast thou eaten of the tree whereof I commanded thee thou shouldest not eat? And the man said, the woman. So now here's where I want to go, because this is very, very, very important. This part is always going to get skipped over because it blows a hole in the argument of the male as the natural leader, when leadership is a science. Now, we already looked at the trivium, and we seen that logic is the art of thinking. Leadership is also an art. It is not natural to the male baby to be born with logic, but he can learn it though. It's not natural that the male baby can be born with leadership, but he can learn it though, because here we have, if this is the first man that ever existed, look at what he says. And the man said, the woman who thou gavest to be with me, she gave me that, and I did eat. He didn't say, you know what, that's my fault, that's my lady, whatever happens, it's on me. No. And you don't see this thing about providing and protecting. Because if that is the natural, this is why the word suppose is an interesting word, because the word suppose is a word that is something that is people want to be true. That's not true, right? The man is supposed to provide and protect. Well, I should be able to go to Adam as a reference. There is no providing and protecting from the first man that ever existed, according to many people. And it kind of is similar now, because the men blame the woman for being single mothers. They blame the woman for not being able to pick correctly. The men blame the woman for everything that is going on. Now, that I'll say is natural to Adam. That is right on course with the original man. I can read. This is not accountability, and this is not what y'all say about protection. Now, we all have to admit that we're making this shit up as we go. Right? And the interesting thing is, in the creation story, I hear nothing about femininity and masculinity. This is where we should go to find it, right? Because this is part of creation. So I should find out right now what masculinity is. I should find out right now, ASAP, what femininity is, right? Huh? All right. And the Lord said unto the woman, what is this that thou hast done? And the woman said, the serpent beguiled me. Now, how is the serpent able to beguile? What is the serpent? The meaning of the serpent again? Wisdom, knowledge, right? And the Lord God said unto the serpent. So now God is talking to the serpent, and look what happens. Because thou hast done this, thou art cursed above all cattle and above every beast of the field. Upon thy belly thou shalt go, and dust shalt thou eat of all the days of thy life. Now, is the serpent cursed? Has the serpent been cursed? Do we in this culture look at the serpent as fertility, healing, quality, duality and balance, protection? Do we look at the serpent in a positive light in this culture? No, we don't. Right? They ate of the tree of knowledge because they was influenced by the serpent, which symbolically represents spiritual growth. So when their eyes were open, that is an example of enlightenment. That's an example of going to another level, going from one state to another. So if you come out of minority state, right, and go to another place, that is that transformation, right? Being able to come out of this mindset right here. Turn the TV up. Right? Being able to come out of this state, minority state, which you want to come out of, and come into an elevated state, into an abstract state, right? Because the development is going to produce a new kind of thinking, right? So the serpent is cursed, because in this culture, we're taught that's evil and that's the devil, right? And I notice all the things they told us was the devil and evil. Two things can be true, but there's a lot of knowledge in the places they tell us not to go, right? All right. So the serpent is cursed. And the Lord God said unto the serpent, okay, we read that. And I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed, and it shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise thy heel. So that's telling you that the woman and the serpent are connected with each other, because this deity is trying to break the connection between them. What is the connection between the woman and the serpent? I know this is going to hurt a lot of the men, and I might not get no super chats or no cash apps, but the truth is the truth. Wisdom runs through the woman. This is why the serpent is speaking to the woman, because wisdom runs through the woman. A man can amass massive amounts of knowledge, but without the mirror, the woman, the knowledge will never turn into wisdom. This is why the serpent is running through the woman. And this is why this deity is breaking that connection. And now you have a state in the world where women are cut off from wisdom. This is why they say the woman is emotional. But the first woman that ever existed does not display emotions. She displays what we would consider leadership. She did not follow the man. He followed her. Hold on. Is she masculine? Where is Eve's? Matter of fact, it doesn't even say Eve. It says the woman. She doesn't have a name. She does not have a name at this time. She's just wife. Look at the curse. Unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. So you see right here as we read, and I didn't put anything on it, just reading, you see that what y'all call submissiveness and the husband being over the woman comes from a curse. That is not the natural state of things. It's based on a curse. Do I have to read it again? And I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. So when women are saying, I want to be submitted, you're saying that you want to be part of the curse. That's what submissive woman comes from. Now, if you've been following me for a minute, then you understand in Western culture, what we see marriage was, it was never about love or anything. It was to bind a man, a woman to a man. She was absorbed into the man. They had things like coverture. This right here is not a friend to the woman. It is to separate the woman from wisdom. This is why the average female talks about bullshit. The average female is attracted to things, bright shit, because her back has been broken away from wisdom. In girl chats, they're not talking philosophy. They're talking gossip. They're talking nonsense. Because part of the curse is to make the woman think that her natural state is emotional. It's not. It's part of the meat suit. But that is not the natural state. Right? Hold on. And Adam, he said unto Adam, because thou hast hearkened unto the voice of thy wife, and hast eaten of the tree of which I commanded thee, saying, thou shalt not eat of it. Cursed is the ground for thy sake, and sorrow shalt thou eat of it in the days of thy life. Thorns and thistles shall be brought forth to thee, and thou shalt eat the herb of the field. In the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread till thou return unto the ground, for out of it wast thou taken. For dust thou art, and unto dust shalt thou return. And Adam called his wife Eve, mother of all living. Notice she now just gets a name. After all of that, she gets a name. That's telling you the woman and Eve are two different people, but that's not what I'm talking about today. And Adam said unto his wife, did the Lord God make coats, skins, and Adam said unto his wife, did the Lord God make coats of skins and clothe them? And the Lord God said, behold, peep what God said. God said what the serpent said. Remember when the serpent said, you will not die, you will be as gods? And the Lord God said, behold, the man is become one of us to know good and evil. Lest he put forth his hand and take also the tree of life and eat and live forever. Why did I read that? Why did I read that? First of all, why are we talking about submission and who the head of the house, and how did it get here? Why is the serpent evil? You see my screen? This is a timeline of Christianity in Europe. The reason you think the serpent is evil, the reason you think the woman is cursed and original sin, is because of changes in the church that have happened in Europe. Different sects taking control, different people in power thinking the knowledge should go in a different direction. This is a timeline right here, right? All the way going back from 431 AD all the way up to the 1960s. This is the root of modern Christian thought, right? You can follow this timeline. For many of you who have been brought up in church, before it ever landed in your lap, this is what happened to it. Take a screenshot of that for your own records. You're welcome, right? $20 Cash App in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you in advance, right? Screenshot this and put it in your records and follow the timeline. Because this timeline is going to show you how mysticism turned into literalism, right? This is important. Many of you were taught that, oh man, Christians were getting eaten up at the Roman Colosseum. They were, but not the Christians you think of, right? There were different branches of that. See, first off, it was never meant for public consumption. The bishops that followed the concept of Christianity were throughout all of the Mesopotamia region. They all would go to Egypt to learn. It was broken off into priesthoods. It was never, ever, ever designed for the masses of people to know. Y'all don't know that, huh? It does not come into public consumption until Constantine makes it a state religion. And many people in that region who the Roman Empire controlled were illiterate. So you had to go through the clergy. But when Constantine is making it a state religion, he begins to kill off all the other Christian sects because of heresy. And this is where they develop the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, the Trinity. This is where the serpent, who once was a beloved symbol, becomes evil. And things like original sin come into play. This is one of the branches. Okay? We come with receipts. Do your own homework. This is one of the branches in the sects of early Christianity. They didn't think what you think. You're under a different ideology. Now remember, this is all the stuff that have happened. This is not my opinion. This is not what I believe. If you look at 431 all the way to 1960, we are talking about almost 2,000 years, okay, of power struggle. Theologians undermining each other. The elite picking and choosing what the public should consume. And now you have what you have. But this is one of the branches, the early sects of Christianity. The Ebionites. Right? See, the Ebionites didn't follow what you follow. Now, this is in the 2nd century. Now, are y'all going to say the people that lived 2,000 years before you, who had a more bird's eye view of this situation, are y'all going to say, oh man, they just don't have the spirit? Now, you can say that to me because I'm 37. But what are you going to say about the people that had a bird's eye view when the faith that was practicing the priesthood before it became public consumption? This is what they talked about. He was no more than a man who had a special call from God. They ignored the entire We're gonna crack it though. All right. Soter, I've never said this word. Soteriological, the salvation through Jesus Christ, derived from Greek, soter, savior, doctrine of the New Testament. They didn't believe that. So while you're saying, now peep this though, peep this. You're getting all your information from, y'all like to use modern man and modern woman, right? You have modern religion. Are you going to debate, right? Are you going to debate what the people that had a bird's eye view? These are people are 2,000 years older than you. They were part of the original sects that was killed because of heresy. They did not believe that you had to have salvation through the Jesus Christ narrative. They had no teaching about the Holy Spirit. They held on to the observance of the old law. It is said that the Apostle John wrote his gospel at the request of the ministers of the several churches of Asia, in opposition to the heresy of the Corinthians and the Ebionites, who held that Jesus was a mere man. The Ebionites, they were considered adoptionists. Jesus Christ was a good Jewish man adopted by God. That's what they thought. The separationists, Gnostics, Jesus was a man separate from God. Okay, let me bring this down for you. The Marcionites, Jesus Christ was fully God and not human. He only seemed human. And the Proto-Orthodox, Jesus Christ was both God and man, but only one person. I have a list of sects of Christianity of different branches. They did not go by what you go by, right? The ideals about submission and femininity and masculinity, all that stuff comes from culture. It's not in the beginning. This is who you see the world through. This is who you see the entire religious narrative. You don't actually follow the ideals of the character named Jesus. You follow Paul. This is a depiction of Paul. So when you're reading Thessalonians, Philippians, right? When you're reading those New Testament, Ephesians, men, love your wives as Christ loved you. This is from a priest named Paul. Paul is a priest. What you're saying is the word of God. Is Paul's is Paul the priest? He is just he is the Pauline sect, just like them, and they had their ideals. You're following what Paul said. So when Paul says, women, be quiet in the church, ask your husbands, you got to understand Paul was in Greece, in Europe, where women rights was different. This is why when the Jesuits and missionaries went throughout the rest of the world, they thought it was odd that man was not above the woman. When the missionaries and Jesuits came to America, that's what they bumped into. There was no hierarchy like that of man being above the woman. There was harmony. Y'all follow Paul. When y'all reading from Ephesians, this is what Paul thinks of Christ. The same way the Ebionites thought he was a mere man. The only reason you know Paul is because of this. That's why you know Paul and you don't know the Ebionites. Because of politics. These characters right here, John Wycliffe, John Huss, Martin Luther, Menino, and John Calvin, these are your reformers. I'm walking you down. See, I'm not just going to tell you what this is a white man's. I ain't going to do all that. No, I'm going to walk you down on how things came to be. Take it or leave it. It's through reformation of doctrine, right? These characters are responsible for why you think the woman is naturally submissive. They are responsible for why you think the serpent, who I brought up, is evil. They are responsible of why you think the husband is above the woman. Again, you can't talk about femininity and masculinity until you do a deep dive, a deep audit into the changes of religious practices in Europe. The reason why that's important is because you were thrust into this religious history without even knowing it. You don't know how it got like this. Y'all with me? We cooking today. Let me get some ones in the chat. Let me know y'all with me. And we're only doing this. Let's go back. Hold on. So it's not misunderstood. Where are we at? Okay. We are only doing this because we want to come out of the transitive verb thinking of it's about everything else. The example, the carpenter planes the wood, right? It's not about the transitive verb. It's about the intransitive verb, the rose blooms. You are the rose, right? This knowledge begins and ends with you. This is not for you to debate. That's the carpenter plans the wood, right? Remember, the action of the transitive verb begins in the agent, but goes across and ends in the object, which is the wood. So the knowledge that you're used to getting is so you can send it elsewhere in debate, in comment sections. Do not go in the comment section talking about Ken said. Don't put me in your shit. Don't do that. This is for you. You are the rose. The rose blooms. This knowledge begins in the agent and ends in the agent. That's why we're doing this. Now, an interesting thing about this word submit, I noticed that y'all like to make words mean what you want it to mean. I noticed that y'all like to make things mean what you want it to mean. But I like to go to the etymology, right? You cannot make words mean what you want them to mean. No, let's find out the meaning of the word. So submit, to place oneself under the control of another, to yield oneself, to yield, lower, let down, put under, reduce. Y'all try to make it seem, trust. This is y'all trying to blackify the word. No. To place under the control of another. That's exactly what it means. To yield oneself. And what you're saying is the male covering. Covering of what? The only thing that covers us is knowledge, truth, and understanding, yo. That's what covers us. That's what is our covering. Not personality, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. That is our covering. If it is not true, then it does not matter. This is not about optics. This is about being right and exact. Truth is our covering. A man don't cover a woman. The police will go right up in that house and drag that nigga out. How's he a covering? That's funny. Right? I would just show up with truth. I wouldn't show up with nothing else but truth. Take it or leave it. That was funny though. The covering. That's what I've been hearing in the spaces. What do you mean by that? Someone could run up in there and drag you out of the crib. Covering how? What covers our house is truth. With the F, truth. Right? That's what governs us. Whoever has the best ideals at the right time, that's who go, right? If I'm stronger than the woman physically, then I'm going to lift that. But my physical strength does not mean that I am superior, Because it's the unseen forces that govern man. The forces in the unseen are stronger than the things in the unseen, from the scene. Electricity, gravity. What are the physical forces stronger than that? So if we are measuring by who can beat who in physics, physically, but what about the unseen world? What about mentally? Mental strength is stronger than physical strength. Now, a woman may not be able to lift 300 pounds on the bench press, right? But if she's able to get a dude that goes to grind all his life, went to school, studied hard, right? Is the top performer in the world. If she doesn't have to physically lift shit, but if she's able to get that dude to trick off on her, who's stronger than who? Yeah, you might be able to lift things, but the seduction and the mentalism of the woman is lifting the man, though. Yeah, I'm doing everything for my wife, right? I want to make her happy. Let me frame that again. If the argument is that the man is the head because he's physically stronger, right? But the woman is moving the man around with her mind, who's stronger? The man is killing over the woman, who's stronger? The man wants to become the woman, who's stronger? Everything the woman does, the man must police it, who's stronger? So even though the man is able to lift heavy objects in the physical realm, the woman is able to lift the man in another realm, though. Who's submitting to who? If y'all saying that the man has to provide for the woman, then isn't that submission to place under the control of another? Mm. If the woman is saying that the man is a protector and provider, aren't you being reduced? That's it. If you don't got no money, she don't want you. Isn't that a reduction? I don't care about personality. This is what y'all say. This is what y'all say. Y'all with me? Let me show you something. You ever heard this before? He that finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord. You ever seen that before? He that finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor. Now, you remember when we was reading the book of Genesis, the woman was being referred to as a wife, right? He that finds a wife findeth a good thing, right? Huh? That's what y'all have heard this, right? He that finds a wife finds a good thing. If you have ever heard this before, press 1. In my Kev Gill's voice, press 1. Because watch what I'm about to show you. Because I want to poke a hole through all of those talking points, right? In the spirit of abstract thought. He that finds a wife findeth a good thing. Have any of you ever heard that before? All right. Now, when we go to the etymology of the word wife, find something interesting. Middle English, with, wife, netter, woman, female, lady. Wife in ancient times in Europe just simply meant woman. Wife meant a woman. What words mean now, they did not mean then. So when y'all say he that finds a wife finds a good thing, only thing y'all saying is he that finds a woman. Remember, when we read Genesis, the term referring for her was wife. Wife was just woman. And when you're looking at etymology, what you're looking at is the changing of the language, right? In different parts. You have Old English, you have Proto-Germanic, Old Frisian, Danish, Swedish, Old High German. How we use words now, that's not the meaning of the word. Now look down. In Dutch, waf now means in slang meant girl or babe. Scroll down. Middle High German, whip. In high medieval times was woman, female person, being retained for a woman of gentle birth. Whip took a common, almost vulgar tone that restricted its usage in certain circles and largely has been displaced. Let's go back to this real quick. Wife only means woman. It does not mean marriage. It does not mean anything regarding what you think it means. I'm only talking about the word. Wife is simply woman. Remember, right? Remember, this is where y'all start from. This is what y'all say. Y'all say y'all were slaves. So as a slave for hundreds of years in chattel slavery, there was a whole entire world going on that your people don't know of. You're relegated to slavery. You don't know what's going on outside the world, and people born into it think that's how they always been. So you don't know the history of words. You don't know the history of Europe. Hell, you never left that plantation. If this is what you believe, this is what y'all say y'all come from. So of course you don't know etymology. So when you hear something, especially when a culture is planted on you, you think that's how it always been. He that finds a wife finds it for good thing, obtains favor from the Lord. When you're talking, no, matter of fact, it's not about a debate because I was going to say something else. This is just for you. Remember, the rose that blooms. He who finds a woman finds a good thing. It's quiet in that chat. That's how I like it. I like that grand opening, grand closing kind of stuff. I like to walk you down. I like to wear you down, man. I'm that running back in the playoffs for 30, 35 carries. I just wear the defense out. What are you going to say? What are you going to say? What can you say? But, cool. You could do whatever you want, but understand it's cognitive dissonance, though. You're not going to accept it because you're going to go back to what you believe. I'm not talking about belief. I'm talking about actual facts. He that finds a woman finds a good thing. Now look at this. Now, was anything positive about the term wife? Anybody? Was anything positive about the word wife? Yes or no? It means woman, but is it positive? Do you find anything in here positive? If it's no, press 1. If it's anything special about this, like, you know, submissive or just any great attributes, do you see anything in here? Is it positive? It says babe. A lot of y'all don't want to be called babe or girl, right? It's neutral. Okay. What about this? Now this should be very interesting. Mistress, female teacher, governess, supervisor of novices in a covenant, Old French, mistress, lover, housekeeper, governess, female teacher, femme, master, chief, head director, teacher. Sense of a woman who employs others or who has authority over a household and servants. A woman who has mastered an art or branch of study. She is of kept woman of a married man. Woman who is beloved and courted, who has command over a lover's heart. Y'all can't talk about femininity and masculinity and you don't know what words mean. The mistress in history technically has more meaning than the word wife. When y'all be like, yeah, that's why you a side bitch. Well, isn't it kind of interesting that historically men treat their mistress better than they treat their wife? Why? Because initially, the wife or woman, she was never designed for the husband's love. She was only for breeding a male heir. That's it. But he loved his mistress. Hold on, I might be tripping, man. Hold on, Ken. Come on, man. Come on, man. Am I Joe Biden? Come on, man. Hold on. Let me make sure. Now we're talking about the etymology. We're talking about the origins of a word, what it meant when it was used. Wife, woman, female, lady, okay? Certain origin, apparently felt inadequate in its basic sense, leading to the more distinctive formation. Dutch with now in slang, girl, having softened somewhat for earlier sense of bitch. Y'all see that? Wife, as it's changing its meanings in Europe. The Dutch is interesting because y'all know of the Dutch West Indian Company, right? Many of your so-called ancestors you believe came on a slave ship. All right. Wife in slang, girl, babe, having softened somewhat from earlier sense of bitch. The term wife in its origins is associated with the word bitch. The modern German cognate also tends to be slighting or derogatory. There is nothing positive about the word wife. You in bizzaro world, man. Make sure, only thing I ask is just tell my story when I'm gone. That's it. Give me some bread and tell my story when I'm gone. That's it. That's all. I just came to disrupt. I just came to disrupt. So all the, I'm a wife. I'm a wife. Hold on, let me bring this down so you can see me. Hold on. I'm a wife. I got the ring. I'm having the babies. Okay, your belly's about to be an oatmeal cookie. I got the ring. The mistress, though. You are the wife. Basically, you are around, you are the burden. You have the burden. I just read the scripture to you that the curse for wisdom for you, lady, is that the husband should rule over thee. This is why the men are saying what femininity is. Not you. Not you. Look, yo, look, man, look at the characteristics of the mistress, man. Female teacher, governess, supervisor of novices in a covenant, mistress, housekeeper, governess, female teacher, master, chief, head director, teacher. Sense of a woman who employs others or who has authority over a household and servants. She ain't being called bitch. She ain't being called babe. Look at her. Woman who has mastered an art or branch of study. Do you know why she's able to master? Because she's getting all the bread. So when men are saying, and this is not banging on men at all, I'm just talking about the facts. When men are saying, well, you ain't married though, what they're saying is you are free. You ain't under a man's control. So as the logic fear says, they blame, shame, and explain you into be what? The husband rule over thee. Come on now. So this is why the conversations about femininity, masculinity, it's a talking point for welfare masculinity. And we're about to get into that in a second. Right? But this is interesting though. Female teacher, governess, supervisor of novices in a covenant, housekeeper, female teacher, master, chief, head director, teacher, woman who employs others, has authority over a household and servants. What? Meaning woman who has mastered an art or branch of study. Man, kept woman of a married man as a polite form of address to a woman. Man, polite, right? So, to summarize, in the usage when wife was created, it meant to be bitch. It meant to be woman. This is why in the Bible she was called woman, the woman, or the wife. Wife and woman are interchangeable in etymology, right? But it's not a positive based on language. All right. Take it or leave it. I said all that just to get us here so we can actually sit back and listen to me as I read about gender from the Kabbalion, right? Written by Thoth or Hermes Trismegistus, right? So we could put femininity and masculinity in its proper perspective. And it's based on gender, right? So it's 7 principles in Hermetics. The first being mentalism. The universe operates as a mind and is connected to all others. The second principle, correspondence. There are 3 planes, physical, mental, and spiritual, that correspond in our own life, right? Then you have the principle of vibration. Everything in the universe vibrates in their unique frequencies. To change your life, you have to adapt vibration. You have the principle of polarity. Everything in the world has 2 opposite poles. Nothing is totally true, and everything has an opposite reality. The principle of rhythm. Nothing in the universe stays the same, just the pendulum. Your reality is swinging and switching sides. The principle of cause and effect. Everything that happens in your life has a reason. Nothing occurs without the explanation. And then lastly, where we're going into, the principle of gender. The energy expresses either as masculine or feminine forms, both equally important in creative forces in the universe. It doesn't say marriage. It doesn't say at school. It says in the universe. Now you understand why I had to drag you through logic, rhetoric, arithmetic. I had to chip away at your mind, right? I had to go backwards to go forwards, right? So we can put gender and masculinity and femininity in its respectful place and out of the ghetto, away from welfare philosophy, and away from ghetto femininity. Because you femininity coaches are trash too. Y'all good? Can y'all see what I'm reading? We good? And this is how we'll finish this up, okay? So we did all that to get here. Also, some people have told me, Ken, why your video so long? There's a method to my madness. Eventually, it's going to come around where people are going to want longer content. That's why. Right? See, anybody can make videos in short bursts, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. No. You'll know who's who. Can you really build? Can you really chop? Now, my comeback for that is, if you go to the club, you're there for 3 or 4 hours. You can watch a basketball game for 3 hours. You can watch a football game for 3 hours. Just say you can't keep up. Don't holler at me. Let's do it. The great strength, the great 7th Hermetic principle, the principle of gender, embodies the truth that there is gender manifested in everything, that the masculine and feminine principles are ever present, active in all phases of phenomena on each and every plane of life. At this point, we think it well to call your attention to the fact that gender in its Hermetic sense and sex in its ordinarily accepted use of the term are not the same. Now, I'm reading for something very, 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 very old. They've made an attempt to modernize this shit, but it's very old concepts, okay? And there was a time where these principles weren't available to us, all right? So take advantage that we can come in fellowship in the mystery school, because this is where this information actually belongs. All right. So you see, it has nothing to do with sex already off the top. So eliminate that. All right. The word gender is derived from the Latin root meaning to beget, to procreate, to generate, to create, to produce. A moment's consideration will show you that the word has a much broader and more general meaning than the term sex, the latter referring to the physical distinction between man and female living things. Sex is merely a manifestation of gender on a certain plane of the great physical plane, the plane of organic life. We wish to express this distinction upon your minds for the reason that certain writers who have acquired a smattering of the Hermetic philosophy have sought to identify this seventh Hermetic principle with wild and fanciful and often reprehensible theories and teachings regarding sex. Man, y'all teachings is reprehensible. I'm about to start using that word to chastise y'all. Man, I ain't even gonna say out of pocket no more. Me saying y'all reprehensible. That's my clap back on niggas now. I'm about to switch my whole jargon up. I'm about to just be like, you know what? Yo asses is reprehensible. The office of gender is solely that of creating, producing, generating, and its manifestations are visible on every plane of phenomena. It is somewhat difficult to produce proofs of this along scientific lines for the reason that science has not yet recognized this principle as of universal application. But still, some proofs are forthcoming from scientific sources. In the first place, we find a distinct manifestation of the principle of gender among corpuscles, ions, and electrons, which constitute the basis of matter, as science now knows the latter, in which by forming certain combinations form the atom, which until lately was regarded as final and indivisible. Right then and there, we are definitely disconnecting from ghetto femininity and welfare masculinity. We're talking about atoms and ions and electrons. Y'all talking about clothes and how things look and the tone of someone's voice. The latest word of science is that the atom is composed of a multitude of corpuscles, electrons, and ions, the various names being applied by different authorities, revolving around each other and vibrating at a higher degree and intensity. But the accompanying statement is made that the formation of the atom is really due to the clustering of negative corpuscles around a positive one. The positive corpuscles seem to exert a certain influence upon the negative corpuscles, causing the latter to assume certain combinations and thus create or generate an atom. This is in line with the most ancient Hermetic teachings, which have always identified the masculine principle of gender with the positive and the feminine with the negative poles of electricity. Do you see why I had to start the build? I couldn't go straight to this. We had to do a little entertaining and, we had to shift the mind, because what y'all think masculinity and femininity is totally erroneous. It's reprehensible. Now, a word at this point regarding identification. The public mind has formed an entirely erroneous impression regarding the qualities of the so-called negative pole of electrified or magnetized matter. The terms positive and negative are very wrongly applied to this phenomenon by science. The word positive means something real and strong, as compared with negative, unreality, or weakness. Nothing is further from the true facts. Nothing is further from the real facts of electrical phenomenon. The so-called negative pole of the battery is really the pole by which the generation or production of new forms of energies are manifested. The feminine. There is nothing negative about it. The best scientific authorities now use the word cathode in place of negative. The word cathode coming from the Greek root word descent, the path of generation. From from the cathode pole emerge the swarm of electrons or corpuscles from the same pole emerge from the wonderful rays which has revolutionized scientific conceptions during the past decade. The cathode pole in the mother of all the strange phenomenon which have rendered useless the old textbooks and which have caused many long accepted theories to be relegated to the scrap pile of scientific speculation. The cathode or negative pole is the mother principle of electrical phenomenon and of the finest forms of matter as yet known to science. So you see, we scientific speculation. The cathode or negative pole is the mother principle of the cathode or negative pole is the mother principle of electrical phenomenon and of its finest forms of matter as yet known to science. So you see, we are justified in refusing the term negative in our considerations of the subject and insisting upon substituting the word feminine for the old term. The facts of the case hear us out in this without taking the Hermetic teachings into consideration. So now we shall use the word feminine in its place of negative in speaking of the pole of activity. Do you see? Listen to how this sounds. This is mystery school stuff. You had to be initiated to even. You got to be a great. You have to be a great reader first of all to even digest this stuff. The latest scientific teachings are the creative corpuscles or electrons are feminine, science says. They are composed of negative electricity. We say they are composed of feminine energy. A feminine corpuscle becomes detached from, or rather leaves, a masculine corpuscle and starts a new career. It actively seeks a union with a masculine corpuscle, being urged thereto by the natural impulse to create new forms of matter or energy. One writer goes so far to use the term, it at once seeks of its own volition a union. The detachment and uniting form the basis of the greater part of the activities of the chemical world. When the feminine corpuscle unites with a masculine corpuscle, a certain process is begun. The feminine particles vibrate rapidly under the influence of masculine energy and circle rapidly around the latter. The result is the birth of a new atom. Not clothes, not pregnant and barefoot, making me a sandwich. This is dealing with electricity. Y'all are talking about a woman in her masculine energy because her tone. Y'all are reprehensible. This new atom is really composed of a union of the masculine and feminine electrons or corpuscles. But when the union is formed, the atom is a separate thing, having certain properties, but no longer manifesting the property of free electricity. The process of detachment or separation of the feminine electrons is called ionization. These electrons or corpuscles are the most active workers in nature's field. Arising from their unions or combinations manifest the very phenomenon of light, heat, electricity, magnetism, attraction, repulsion, chemical affinity, and the reverse, and similar phenomenon. And all this arises from the operation of the principle of gender on the plane of energy. The part of the masculine principle seems to be that of directing a certain inherent energy toward the feminine principle, and thus starting into activity the creation processes. But the feminine principle is the one always doing the active creative work, and this is so on all planes. Rewind. Let's take it from the top real quick. This is not a talking point. The part of the masculine principle seems to be that of directing a certain inherent energy toward the feminine principle, and thus starting into activity the creative process. But the feminine principle is the one always doing the active creative work, and this is so on all planes. And yet each principle is incapable of operative energy without the assistance of the other. So pipe down, ladies. I know you was feeling yourself. In some of the forms of life, the two principles are combined in one organism. For that matter, everything in the organic world manifests both genders. There's always a masculine present in the feminine form and in the feminine form. See, I was about to go somewhere because y'all don't understand gender. So when you see a dude, never mind. The Hermetic teachings include much regarding the operation of the two principles of gender in the production of the manifestation of various forms of energy, but we do not deem it expedient to go into detail regarding the same at this point because we are unable to back up the same with scientific proof for the reason that science has not yet recognized thus far. But the example we have given you of the phenomena of the electrons or corpuscles will show you that science is on the right path and will also give you a general idea of underlying principles. Okay, this is coin game. We have to go there. Look, when you see a dude have the physical body of male, right? That does not mean masculine. It's just a body, right? So if you're wondering how the individual is able to have a energy that you would associate with a woman, is because masculine and femininity has nothing to do with sex. So, and this is why a woman can have the behavior and the force of what you associate with a man, because you're thinking that a female acts a certain type of way. No. You're looking at the body. What we are dealing with is electricity. It's the electricity inside the person that makes them masculine or feminine. But masculinity and femininity have nothing to do with guy and girl, but it can be expressed or manifested through a male body and a female body. Make sense? Okay, where we at? All right, we're almost done. Some leading scientific investigators have announced their belief that in the formation of crystals, there was now something that corresponded to sex activity, which is another straw showing the direction the scientific winds are blowing. And each year will bring other facts to corroborate the correctness of the Hermetic principle of gender. It will be found that gender is in constant operation and manifestation in the field of inorganic matter, and in that field of energy or force. Electricity is now generally regarded as the something into which all forms of energy seem to melt or dissolve. The electrical theory of the universe is the latest scientific doctrine, and it's growing rapidly in popularity and general acceptance. And thus follows that if we are able to discover the phenomenon of electricity, even at the very root and source of its manifestations, a clear and unmistakable evidence of the presence of gender and its activities, we are justified in asking you to believe that science at last has offered proofs of the existence in all universal phenomenon of that great Hermetic principle of gender. It is last sentence. It is necessary to take your time with the well-known phenomenon of the attraction and repulsion of atoms, chemical affinity, the love-hates of the atomic particles, the attraction or cohesion between the molecules of matter. These facts are too well known to need extended comment from us. But have you ever considered that all of these things are manifestations of the gender principle? Can you not see the phenomena is on all fours? I found that funny. My brain is kind of. Can you not see that the phenomenon is on all fours with that of the corpuscles or electrons? And more than this, can you not see the resemblance of the Hermetic principle, which assert that the very law of gravitation, that strange attraction by reason of which all particles and bodies of matter in the universe tend toward each other, is but another manifestation of gender, which operates in the direction of attracting the masculine to the feminine energies, and vice versa. We cannot offer you scientific proof of this at this time, but examine the phenomena in this light of the Hermetic teachings on the subject and see if you have not a better working hypothesis than offered by the physical science. Submit all physical phenomena to the test, and you will discern the principle of gender ever in evidence. 1 second. Bring that down. See that last sentence. Let us now pass on the consideration of the operation of the principle on the mental plane. Okay. So then it goes into mental gender. That is the Kabbalion. So when people are talking to you about masculinity, femininity, submission, understand from a scientific perspective. And when I say scientific perspective, I mean you, the scientist, you being the student, understand that they are not learned. Masculinity and femininity is not the tone of your voice. It is not the clothes that you wear. It is based on electrical poles that was observed by the ancients from studying nature, studying negative and positive. Has nothing to do with barrettes in someone's hair. That is important how you move forward, because as the Kabbalion teaches us, gender is in everything, right? Vibration in your mentalism is all based on gender, right? Look, the conversations about femininity and masculinity will not lead you to upward mobility. What y'all are talking about are poverty negotiations. How you understand masculinity and femininity is based on your social class, which is the permanent underclass. If you continue down this path, it will lead you to generational poverty, because it's about thinking. Your concepts are wrong. You must study to show thyself approved. What y'all are engaging in on these YouTube streets, on these Facebook streets, is nothing more than negotiations of poverty, fighting for position of who's going to be the head nig in charge, the head bitch in charge, based on the tier of the permanent underclass. And if that's the way you want to go, I say, have at it. I won't get in your way, but I won't be there with you though. As Buzz Lightyear says, infinity and beyond. If you enjoyed what you heard and you would like me to work on your mind, then go ahead and book your session with the game, your game enhancement session, right? The link is in the chat. Let me help you get from A to Z. Whatever you got going on in your life, I can help. I can walk you through it, right? I can disciple to you, administer to you, and be a blessing to you, right? But if you're not ready for that, if you're on Facebook, you see that little heart on the bottom? That is a supporter badge. Stop coming to my chat and you don't have that by your name, and you know I go in. If you are on YouTube, go ahead and hit that super chat, especially after that surgery that just happened. And the Cash App is right there. And just a FYE, many videos from this year will not be online anymore. They will only be on kenbillions.com come the new year, right? And the top of the year, this is direction that we are going to stay, okay? Right? We're going to give you this good cook session, this 2-hour builds of abstract philosophy, right? We don't care who shows up. We are going to speak truth to power, right? We're going to be the tallest tree in the forest. I don't care about current events. I don't care about gossip. That's not what we're doing. Over here, we are going to become better men and women so we could produce better children and so we could keep our ass up out the permanent underclass. So again, in the chat, there's the link for game enhancement. Go ahead and book your session on my calendar. Go ahead and get your supporter badges ASAP. Do it right now, right? That tells everybody you believe in this shit, right? You only paying $10 a month. Go ahead and do it, right? What are you waiting for? And if you on YouTube, run me that super chat or go ahead and hit that Cash App, right? And the hotline number, that's game on the go. So that's if you don't want to book a session, but you need game ASAP and you can't wait and you got to dial, right? And that number is at the end of this video. I will see y'all next time. Remember, let me hold on. Before you leave, I forgot something. I'll tell you something. Wolverine got claws, right? Superman got lasers that shoot out his eyes. He's a superhero that wears capes. Professor X puts Cerebral on, and he's able to locate every mutant in the whole world. Magneto, he has power over magnetism. I'm just a nigga with some waves. Until next time, if you need game on the go, it's at the end of this video or book your sessions. Until the next time, holla.
Biggest game, it's like, remember we was all back in high school? Some of you may be still in high school or whatever, but follow me. We had the regular class and then you had honors class. And I feel like Ken Billion's game is nothing but honors class. Everything that you learned in life and been through in life or whatever he's talking about at that certain time, and, point of reference, game for guys. Everybody learn game from somebody and this and that, and it's all over the place. But once I listen to Game for Guys, it's like being in an honors class. Ken is a brilliant guy. I still listen to him to this day. Listen to him almost every other day, and I stay studying. And if I look at his video and he's giving us homework, I'm gonna look through that video. I'm gonna write my notes down. I'm gonna do my homework. Then I'm gonna watch the next video. I mean, you just can't get enough of the game and the knowledge that this brother brings to you. He's allowed me to look back into history, my own history. I found out about black people that I never even knew about, black millionaires and people like that. Recently, I learned about the reticular activating system, and that's something that I'm studying up on as we speak. Which I plan on reprogramming myself. You know what I'm saying? So overall, the Ken Billion's game has done a lot for me. It's allowed me to elevate as a man, as a father. It just allowed me to be more excited about life and not be in the program of being oppressed. And that's one of the main things for me that I have to say that this game has done for me. I'm so glad that I ran across it.